This is Sumner Healey, and in this video, we're going to compress 5 years of land investing information into however long this video ends up being. Now, if you guys want to learn about our sales strategy, the #1 meta skill for new entrepreneurs, if you guys want to learn how we build out our SOPs, the tools that we use, if you guys want to learn about the different rules of applying in our business, if you guys want to learn a cascade of things to have written down in here, including the investment economics of a villa that I'm buying here in Bali, then you're going to want to stick around and watch this entire video. Now, I've got a nice little Indonesian cigar that we're going to enjoy throughout this video. So if I pause, that's why. Need to let you guys know 2 things. One, if you guys want to join our free Discord, we've got tons of 6 and 7 figure land investors in there. It's landinvestor.co/Discord, 100% free to join. You can find it down below. Go and join. Also, every month we keep on filling up the 15 spots for Leah, and it's because it is the best program for new land investors that are looking to scale to 6 figures. In fact, our guarantee is 0 to 6 figures in gross pipeline profit in 12 months, or we will work with you for free until you get there. It's an incredible offer. It's an incredible program, and it fills up literally every month. So if you want to start 2025 on the right note, it's time to get started now. That's landinvestor.co/apply. Now, I've done something a little different here. I've actually written my notes down. A lot of times I just riff, but I want to try to keep this one a bit more organized. So stick around. It's going to be a great video. We're going to cover a lot of ground. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the #1 skill for new land investors. So this is what I call meta skills. Skills that are kind of overarching over everything else in your business, that if you can master that, everything else becomes easier. You know, Tim Ferriss has a saying where it says, what's the one decision that you can make today that makes every other decision irrelevant? It's kind of how I think about these meta skills. Now, the meta skills will be different at different junctions in your journey. So I'm going to talk about the meta skill for a new land investor and the meta skill for an entrepreneur. You see, when you're a new land investor, frankly, you're not really an entrepreneur yet, in my opinion. You essentially have a land flipping job, and that's okay. You pay your dues, and then you grow into being an entrepreneur and a business owner. So in the beginning, there's a lot to master. There's a lot of skills to undertake. They all matter. You can't really avoid doing the work and understanding everything kind of at least its most basic level, how to pick markets, how to price markets, how to write your copy, all that stuff, right? But the thing that moves the needle, the thing that we see inside of Leah, the difference of people that make $300,000 their first year in profit versus $100,000 in profit their first year, is sales. And there's 2 layers to that, okay? There's your sales ability, how you talk to sellers, how you handle calls, how you handle negotiations. That's the sales ability. But all of that is for naught if you don't have a sales process to actually put your ability to use, okay? You need those 2 things. And when you marry those 2 things, that is how you can turn nothing into something in a very, very short time period. Now, frankly, that's probably true for almost every business. Like the core tenet for someone that wants to become a great entrepreneur but has no resources is to get really good at sales. So what do I mean by that? Well, I always joke inside of Leah that the best salespeople for our members adopt the kind of identity of someone from Long Island or New Jersey or New York. They're probably, what the heck does that mean, Sumner? Well, when we're in the land business, we're dealing with a different demographic. We're dealing with folks that are typically in school. They're genuinely older, but they're usually over 50, 60 years old. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Different set of values, okay? And so when you come on these calls and you're pandering and you're kind of not asking for what you want, you're not clear, maybe even deceitful in your language, they pick that up and they don't like it, right? And when they've got 5 offer letters and 5 different people to talk to, at the end of the day, it's not just the price that moves the needle for them. There's many times they get a higher price from another investor, but they choose to work with us because they trust us, they think we'll follow through, and on some level, they like us, right? Now, what I've learned after taking thousands of these calls with sellers is to get someone to like you in that demographic is not by pandering, okay? It's not by kissing ass. It's by having that rough and gruff, East Coast, straightforward, no BS, wear my heart on my sleeve, I'm gonna tell you how it is. That's the energy that I find that resonates. Now, you don't wanna be aggressive and rude, but you also need to hold a boundary, because when you show up to that call and you're a stranger kissing ass, they think, what does this guy want from me? This guy wants something, it's slimy, there's hidden agendas here. When you show up, you're like, hey, my name's Paul. I'm buying land. I'm trying to buy your property. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to resell it. I'm going to give you an offer that makes sense for you. If it doesn't make sense for you, then don't do it. All right, this is our business plan. We buy it. We resell it. We got buy it. Like, just so crystal clear. And I literally have hard evidence for this inside of Leah. Those people reign supreme. Now, you don't have to be, again, an East Coaster to pull that off, but that level of communication. Now, that means nothing, though, if you don't have a great sales process. I'm not going to go through and break down what a great sales process looks like here because it could take me 5 hours. But what you do when new leads come in, how you follow up, how quickly you get the offer to them, what you do once the offer is sent to them, like so many layers to that. And you need those two things to marry together. Now, if you can do that, you can market on a shoestring budget and turn crap into gold. And I've seen it happen so many times. So that's the meta skill for new land investors. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice everything else and you can't get good at it. But if you're not good there, you need to spend the time getting good. Okay? And on that note, this isn't like a hardcore sales environment. I don't want you to think about boiler room, Wolf of Wall Street tactics. It's literally just being able to advocate for what we do, explain it clearly, build some level of rapport, ask great questions, enjoy talking to strangers. And when they ask you questions in return, you're completely forthright, transparent, and honest. Like, that's it. That's like the sales tactic, right? A lot of the salesmanship or Wolf of Wall Street style stuff happens in your sales process. So how much tenacity or how aggressive we are there in terms of how we follow up with new leads or pending leads or old leads or whatever. All right. Now let's move on to the number one meta skill for entrepreneurs. Let's say you're a year in, 2 years in, 3 years in. You're no longer a solo operator. You've got some semblance of a business. Now, again, I think a lot of folks, they are misdirecting their energy and focusing in areas that matter, but they don't matter as much as this one area. The truth is, if you look at every single business out there that I can think of, at least, at the end of the day, at its core, like kind of base layer, at its first principle, every business is like a hiring and staffing business. Like every business is a recruiting, training, and leading business. Like that's actually it. Everything else is minutia. Everything else is noise. And so if you can't get that base layer right, you're doomed to fail, or at least you're doomed to hit a glass ceiling that you really can't grow beyond. So after working with, I think we're at like 375 people outside of Leo so far that have gone through it. I would say without fail, pretty much everyone is not good at that. And going to these events and talking to more advanced land investors that are too advanced for Leah, they typically aren't very good at it either. Their attention's going towards learning this new subdivide strategy or adding new marketing channels, and that stuff matters. But if you can't get that first principle right, you're doomed to hit a glass ceiling. And so you are really like the how far your business can go is a byproduct of the kinds of people that you can have in the business, how you organize them, and how you lead and incentivize them. And so spending the time to get really good at that is the ultimate meta skill. And if you can master that skill, you can go into any business and repeat it over and over and over again. So I'm working on our fourth business. We're actually launching it this month. We're doing kind of like our first soft launch. We already got 12 people that are on the wait list that are joining this month. It's called landemails.com. It's a cold email agency where we go and get you seller leads via cold email. We do all of it for you, done for you. And as I'm going through this again, while it's challenging, I mean, starting a business is challenging, I'm right out of the gate thinking who, not how, right? Because I've learned from these other businesses, like you start with that in mind. I'm not an expert on cold email. I'm not an expert at client success. I'm not an expert at all these things, but let me go find the experts. Let me go and recruit them. Let me kind of like sell them to come and work with us, join the vision, join the mission, incentivize them, and create a really cool environment where they actually want to go and give it their all. And I definitely did not come up with this saying, and it's trite and it's said everywhere, but who, not how. God, if you can just keep that in mind every step of the way, you're going to go so far. Now, who, not how doesn't always mean building a team. Who, not how also means who's got the answer that I don't have. So maybe the who, not how for you is I don't know how to build teams. So who's got that answer? Who's done it? Go and find that person. Don't just go, I'm going to start Googling and freaking reading all these books. I mean, sure, it helps. But nothing happens faster than finding the person, partnering up with them or learning from them or whatever, and fast tracking where you end up. Like it is the meta skill of all meta skills, both for your education and development, and also for how far your business can go. And at this point, it's like every business that I've built. So we went land business, and I've ran many businesses prior to that. But let's just look at the last 5 years. Okay, land business. Took me like a year and a half to hire anyone. Leah, I hired someone within 90 days of starting the year. Land insights. I actually didn't even hire people. I partnered with people because I knew who, not how, immediately. Before the thing was even conceived, I knew I was going to partner with people. Land emails, same thing. Who, not how. Partnered with someone. Then within 30 days, recruited someone as our first team member. And so every business I create is getting faster and faster and faster, lined up to let me find the right people and solve for that over everything else. And so really my role nowadays is that, like, whether it's starting something new or growing something that we have, it's finding A players. I say it all the time. It's so annoying, and it might not even make sense to you if you're not at that stage right now, but I promise you that is the meta skill of all meta skills, of all meta skills, of all meta skills, of all meta skills that will take you farther than anything else in life. I promise you. All right. On that note, right now, I think there's 4 different hires that we're bringing on, maybe 5, I could be wrong, between the different businesses, between our land business, Aaliyah, land insights, and land emails. I want to say it's 5, at least it's 4, somewhere between them, all at once. Like, it's literally like all within like the next week or two. Like, some are starting on Monday, some started last week, some starting in 2 weeks. A lot going on. And when I first started hiring people, like anyone, I was terrible at it. And what would happen is I would buy into other people's frames, okay? I would get sold by them, essentially. I would find someone that was charismatic or similar to me, and that charisma would lead me to hire really quickly. In fact, I was so lazy, you could say, that I might get 100 applicants. I would whittle it down to 20 people, but I might have 2 or 3 calls, and one person was so charismatic that on the spot, they convinced me, and I would just move forward with them. I wasn't methodical enough to go through that list of 20 because I was sold by them, right? I was foolhardy in that way. And what would happen is some of it, a lot of it, wouldn't work out. We would hit a dead end because I hired wrong. I'll talk about why. But what I would do is I would take forever to let go of them. So I'd hire really quickly and fire really slowly. The irony is it's actually the complete inverse that you want to do. Now, I had to learn that through the School of Hard Knocks, like a lot of things. I think I'm actually a valedictorian of the School of Hard Knocks. And so now, we're extremely methodical, okay? Every person that comes our way that makes it past the first stage of qualification, we're gonna have an interview with. In fact, we might even have multiple interviews with them. And even once I feel like, God, I found the person, I am going to drill down with more interviews, more hoops to jump through. And I'm very, very slow to bring on. And I've learned that you can be fooled. Humans get persuaded all the time. We like people that are similar to us. And a lot of times what you might need is actually a complementary skill set, the yin to your yang, and not so much so someone that's just like you, right? Get a room full of visionaries and you have a pretty disastrous business. So nowadays, it's really slow and we're super methodical. We make people jump through a lot of hoops, but if it doesn't work out, we are quick to let go. Now, I think we can still make improvements on how fast we let go. It's so hard, it's so painful, there's no secret answer. All you gotta do is just have the conversation. Don't sugarcoat it, you just get it right out there. And usually the writing's on the wall way before you ever make a decision. In fact, most land investors, I would say, probably wait 6 to 12 months too long to let go of someone. And when I look within their business, they say, dude, this person should be let go. I'm like, yeah, I know, man. I know. I've been knowing it for a while. And it's like, well, why haven't you done anything? It's because sometimes they don't trust their own judgment, or it's just so uncomfortable that humans naturally avoid what is uncomfortable. So, one of the roles that we're starting with us tomorrow inside Aaliyah, many interviews, many back and forth emails, many videos exchanged back and forth. And one of the interesting things that I've started doing is I actually do an anti-sales pitch, okay? So the typical hiring process for us looks like job application, some kind of hoop they have to jump through, record a Loom video to why you're a good fit, or watch this video, tell me what you learned, or fill in the blank, right? They jump through that hoop and they have the right answers, then we'll proceed with an interview. Now, typically that interview is going to be done by someone on my team. Okay, so there's going to be stages and layers. Now, as long as they'll make it past that interview, and they'll have either a second interview with my team, or then I will jump in with a call. We might have one more call thereafter. But even once we bring them on, we're typically within like a 30 to 60 day kind of test period. And I'm really clear about that, right? We're not married yet. We're just dating. We're courting each other. So understand that this is part of essentially the hiring process. Like those 30 to 60 days are very tentative. Now you're going to get paid the standard amount. Everything's going to be business as usual, but we are going to kind of recap and reflect the end of that period and say, is this the right fit for both of us, right? And I try to encourage them. I want you to be super honest with me. If this is not the right fit for you, tell me. You won't hurt my feelings, right? We want to be in an environment where we can be open, and it's going to save everyone a lot of heartache. Now, part of that process that I started doing is essentially doing what everyone does, but in reverse. A lot of times people treat hiring like a sales process, as we should. But what they do is they try to sell the person on all of their best attributes, okay? They sell them on this vision that a lot of times they can't even live up to. And so what happens is there's a lack of congruency. That person gets brought into your business. They say, wait, you told me all these amazing things, right? I hear it all the time. People are like, this person hired me. They said that we were going to be doing 2 calls together per week. They said that we were going to hang out once a quarter. They said this, that we're going to get in the office. They said this and this and this and this and this. I was going to get this level of training. And I never did. And I'm even I've made mistakes there, right? It's really easy to overpromise and underdeliver. What I do is I do what I call the anti-sales pitch. And so once they've made it to like that second interview, I'll usually send them a Loom video and I'll say, look, these are all the things that are wrong with us. These are all the problems in our business. These are all the things that we're not good at. These are our shortcomings. This is what you can expect. Does that still resonate, right? And what's funny is people are always shocked by that level of vulnerability. I can't believe you're that honest, right? For example, it's not Aaliyah. We're bringing on our first female team member. It's all dudes. I don't like it that way. It's just kind of how the cookie is crumbled. And I'm like, look at, because that's how the team's assembled, there are shortcomings. And these are what they look like. And this is what you're walking into. And I want you to be really aware of that. I want you to also be aware of this is our vision. This is where we're going. But these are the bumps that we're going to hit in the road. These are going to be the growing pains. And if that still resonates, cool, then we're going to love each other. We're going to be a great fit. The reason I don't want to sell them on this is because it's such an intensive investment of time and resources that when we find out 6 days later that they hate the role and that we're not what they thought we are, this is a giant waste of time, right? So I want to be as transparent as possible. Now, I'm not going to be Mr. Pessimistic, but I'm going to be really clear. And I'm going to be clear about our shortcomings as a team, our shortcomings as a culture, what they can expect, where we're looking to go, the speed bumps in the road, the current problems that we have, challenges, what we're looking for. I think it's really beneficial. Something I recommend adhering to. We're talking a lot about hiring today. It's high on my mind. Because it's pretty much all I ever do. Really all I do nowadays is talk to people. That's pretty much, for better or worse, where all my time gets spent. Leading, incentivizing, inspiring, connecting, being there to hold space for people when they go through problems, having the final say on hires, helping with some of the training. Like, that's where all my time is going. And so it's high on my mind, and it's probably super relevant for some of you guys that are more advanced watching this video. So I don't know about you. When I first started hiring people, F an SOP, I'm like, I don't need that. I'm special. I don't need that. They don't need that. I don't need that. All right, well, let's just get past that faulty belief. So I got over that. And then I started building SOPs. And it was like 3-hour Google Meet recordings, random hodgepodge Google Docs, super messy, all stored in a bunch of different places. Took me in Google Drive and 100 different Google Drive files. Sloppy, right? Then I started getting better. So what I started doing is every SOP would have a video and writing attached to it. It'd be in kind of one clear central place and one Google Drive folder. And what we've just kind of leveled up beyond that, which is probably very simple to some people, is actually building out our SOPs inside of Notion. Now, if you're not using Notion for your SOPs, God, do I recommend it. It's a cool central database that keeps everything really nice and systematized. It's a beautiful sequence of how it's laid out. It's really visually appealing. It's really easy to engage with. And inside there, we meld written SOPs with video SOPs, okay? We'll also store recordings or kind of important things like case studies or things to reference. Shucks, this thing is dying. So it does a really good job keeping that in one clean central place. And it's really easy for you because what happens is when you want to go and edit your SOPs, you've got 20 different Google Docs, and it's all hodgepodge. It's just really, really hard for us to engage with. I think it's even harder for our hires to engage with. So it's in no one's best interest. But on that note, let me get this thing started, guys, sorry. On that note, there's one important tool you need on top of that. And that's going to be the pro version of Loo, okay? The best SOPs are going to be both written and visual, okay? What happens is if we just record our SOPs, inherently our SOPs will change, and then you got to go re-record the whole video. So it's nice to have the notes or the written instructions that you can easily edit and adjust. And SOPs are going to be living, breathing documents. They are going to evolve. So I like having both, and in worst case it changes, I'm going to amend the text and put like a footnote so they know, hey, this part of the video has changed. Now the pro version of Loom will spit out written SOPs from your videos. So all you gotta do is film the video, spit out the written SOPs, bam, you're off the races, keep it all inside of Notion. It is the best way to store your SOPs. I know there's other tools out there, but this has been far and away my favorite. And it's probably something that we should go and update inside of Leah. It's a big undertaking, but we used to be heavy on the Google Drive. It was fragmented, it was disenfranchised. We were kind of streamlined. I don't know what the heck I was even going to say that, but we've kind of created an assembly line all inside of Notion. Now, it's interesting, we just had a call with the leaders inside of Land Insights. One of the features that we are working on for 2025 is a KPI section and maybe even an SOP section. So it could be something that we kind of engulf inside of Land Insights for our users to keep everything stored in one nice, simple database. Okay, one thing that's important too about the SOPs, once you already have a team in place, I think it's important that you have your team weigh in and even help build those, okay? So for the new role that we're hiring inside of Leah, it's kind of sales adjacent, okay? So we had Justin, who works on the sales side, help build those out. We had Juan that works on the operations side, help build that out. It should be collective. Everyone should own those SOPs together. And you want differing views, people that have their finger closer to the pulse. So don't think that SOPs are just on the shoulders of the CEO. You actually want kind of the weighing machine of your team. And so I'll usually have them go and make the first pass. I'll edit, and then we'll review together. Okay, so it shouldn't just fall in your shoulders exclusively. Because what happens is a lot of times the SOPs will be known by that role, but if your team didn't have any say in them, they won't know them. They don't own them, they don't know them. And so there's like this weird gap, like you and one person on your team knows the SOPs, but everyone else is clueless. You don't want that. We want everyone to know, hey, our AM makes this many calls per day, we send this many offers. Like those KPIs need to be known by everyone. Okay, this is an interesting one. This is a counterintuitive one that I neglected and denied myself for a very long time. And that is the power of relaxation, but even deeper, that is the power of creativity, okay? The more money I make is always directly to my level of creativity. That sounds crazy, right? But at a certain point, you start to get paid on your ideas. That is the highest form that you can reach as an entrepreneur. You're no longer getting paid on your work. You're getting paid on your ideas. It's a powerful place to be. But if you're in that place, you need to get paid on the quality of your ideas and to some extent the quantity of your ideas, right? Quantity matters less, but you need to be fostering space for ideas to float through you. Now, you don't create ideas via like forcing them. Okay, that's why people get ideas in the shower. They get ideas when they're napping. They get ideas when you're in this white space, when you're in the space where you're conscious but not unconscious, like you're somewhere in between, but you're not in this hyper doing mode, okay? So in the beginning, the doing mode is what gets you traction. So you've got to live there. The problem is there's this false association that got you results, so that will continue to get you more results. But you need to grow up and mature outside of just being in this doing mode. And you kind of slowly make this transition, right? You're not going to go full idea mode, but you will ease into that. And at a certain point, you will just be an idea machine, and that's what you get paid off of. But there's a kind of a graduation between the two. And so what happens is a lot of entrepreneurs feel guilt giving themselves any white space or creative time because it feels counterproductive, right? When you've been conditioned that I get results based off how hard I work or how much I work, there's this weird false connection there. And that's true in the beginning, but it's only true up until a certain point. A lot of entrepreneurs, they shoot themselves in their foot because they never give themselves that white space or that creative time. It's paramount. So how do I do that? There's a lot of ways that I do that, but I want to share one that I've been using recently that's really cool and counterintuitive. First off, silence, solitude is your greatest friend. In fact, you could probably say that most of human existence is running away from solitude. It's running away from silence. It scares us because in that place we have to confront things that we have that are repressed, that we are taking action on to repress further, right? You are repressing the fact that you live in scarcity. So you repress that by trying to go and make money. You repress it via action. And when you have to sit in silence, you have to confront what's been repressed. And that's scary, it's uncomfortable. So yes, you have to get over that in terms of your personal development. But also, all creation, your creatorship, happens in that place of solitude. So there's that nasty hump that you have to get over. And then it's like this blissful state where you are tapping into your God-given gift of being a creator, of being able to create within your life. A lot of ways to do that. One of the things that I've been doing since I moved here to Bali, I've gotten a float tank membership. So I sit within a sensory deprivation tank, okay, for 90 minutes. You're in water that's the same temperature as your skin. So we have about 100 pounds of Epsom salt. So you float like a freaking buoy on top of it. And you just lay in there. Now, in that state, things will come up. I don't try to control, but as much as possible, I actually try to let thoughts flow across me. I try not to hold on to them. I try to let them just kind of flow over me like clouds. And I try to get hyper present as much as I can. So what happens is I leave that place in a different state, like this dynamic stillness. And in that state is where I begin to create, okay? I had this interesting memory. It's a memory that I probably repressed. I don't know why. I just haven't thought about it. So when I was living in San Diego, I was about 1.5 years into my land business. And I used to go on what I call like vision quests. I don't know. There are these hikes. I'd go by myself, no music, no headphones. I would go and hike. And I'd just be with my thoughts. No substances, just me, just out there, right? I would find these big rocks. In San Diego, they've got these giant boulders like stuck into the hillsides. It's crazy. And it looks like giants threw boulders that got like planted into the hillsides. So I'd find these big sun-basked rocks and I'd lay on them and I would do breath work. And I'd just breathe. I breathe. I do that for 20 to 30 minutes, sometimes longer. And I get myself into this intense state, this altered sense of consciousness. I would just like feel things bubbling up. And sometimes I would cry, sometimes I would laugh. I would just get emotions flowing through me. And through that, I would get myself into these states thereafter, not during it, but thereafter, where I was a conduit for creativity. I'll never forget, I have this video on my phone that I filmed to myself, where I was just flowing, man. I'm just talking about and declaring what I was going to create in my life and the kind of life that I was declaring for myself and what I wanted to be and who I wanted to become, the kind of man I wanted to become, the kind of life that I wanted to lead. Fast forward, that's pretty much exactly the life that I lead today. Now, you could have said that I could have declared that stuff without it, but I think I needed to get myself into those states of solitude and silence and creativity to remove all the BS, to open myself up as a conduit, to then declare the things that I wanted to declare, let it flow through me. And I felt like from those states, I could create. Literally every day, I would take a walk after work for 45 minutes to an hour. Nothing, no phone, no nothing. And I would just flow, man. I would just flow, just continue to declare what I was building in my life and declare and declare and declare. And that's the work that people don't see. Right? That's the work where people come in and they say, I'm going to join Leah, I'm going to get some strategies, I'm going to build this business. It's like, no, dude, no. You are going on an immense personal development journey to become the kind of person that you want to become, to create the kind of life that you want to create. You first have to become that person. And that's beyond the skills that you learn as it relates to the business. That's the work that no one talks about. That's the work that happens behind the scenes. And it's the make or break work. Now, everyone's got their own ways to go about it. What I'm saying here is not the only way. Just a few different ways that have worked for me. But Float tanks are one of the most cost-effective, safe methods out there. So you can go in and create some silence in your life, and it will force you into the deep ends. And yeah, don't be scared of silence. Don't be scared of counterproductive things in your workday to create space and solitude, but then to channel that creative energy to actually do what you want to do. It's like some kind of alchemy or sorcery. I don't know how to explain it when it's been such a big part of my journey. And all the people that I know, they're at a really high level, whether they're aware of it or not, they have that in their life. Like they have that. And some people have it to a huge degree. And those are some of the most capable people I've ever met. They create things that are beyond what you would think is possible. So there's something to that. On top of that, I was talking to one of my co-founders, Mayor. We partnered on land emails together. And he was telling me something. And Mayor's super successful, family man, has 3 kids, beautiful family, runs multiple businesses, just launched a crazy short-term rental project up in near to Washington, D.C. Like just a super capable guy. And he was telling me, and I found this so interesting, and he's very religious and spiritual. He was telling me, he's like, yeah, man, like a lot of days I'm just eating cookies and chips at work. And I was texting my wife, and I'm like, I don't know why my energy just feels so down and I feel like I can't focus. And I'm thinking, dude, that is our number one, that is our greatest resource, in excess of even the resource of time. The quality and quantity of our energy is the greatest resource that we have. We should be protecting and curating that at all costs. Now, there are many people that can defy that for a time being, like look at Donald Trump. The guy's a workforce and he eats McDonald's and drinks Diet Cokes. Like, yes, there are counter examples to it for sure. But you could also make the question of like, how much further could they be if the protection, the cultivation of their energy was a high priority for them? And that's why I think maintaining your body, your vitality, your energy is so important. It is your greatest asset for the quality of your life and how far you go in that. And so I think even if you're getting started, like even if you're not making a ton of money, doing what you can do to make sure that your energy is always cultivated and protected is so freaking important. Can you go and put in 12-hour days and have vitality and energy and have that like hunger and that excitement and that passion? Now you might not have that every day. That's understandable. But cultivating practices to protect your energy. And that also really plays into who you spend your time with, you know? There's a reason that as people embark on this journey, a lot of times the people that are in their orbit, both family and friends, those relationships start to change. Because you start to recognize who's a giver and who's a taker in your life, whose energy lifts you up and who brings you down. You know, one of the things that I think about is when I leave an interaction, do I feel better than when I started? And if I don't, that's not a place that I want to be spending my time. That might sound selfish. That might sound cruel or cold or calculated. But frankly, I think it's fair. I do. You've got one life potentially for all we know. And your energy is the greatest gift that you've been given. And so you need to protect it and cultivate it at all costs. And I spend a lot of time working on that. There's a gal that I've been working with for a while now who's kind of like my, I guess, life coach, if you will. And you started working together kind of through a retainer to where when things crop up, I can send her voice memos and texts and things to get my energy back on track. Things to give me guidance from a third party to show me things that I might not be able to see. And at a certain point in your journey, it's like, that is the highest ROI area to be investing in, is to protect yourself, protect your energy. Okay. You guys are probably like, what are we getting ourselves into? Let's get more pragmatic. I take a puff of this. One thing too I want to mention, down below in the description, I've got a ton of free resources that we've recently released. Scrubbing SOPs, our purchase agreement, bunch of really cool stuff that's totally free down below. If you guys have made it this far, check it out down below. On that note, one of the things that we built out that I might want to share, I don't know the best way to share it. Maybe I'll make a video on it or we'll release it in some fashion where you guys can use it, but is an AI sales trainer. And this is really cool, right? So in our land business, every Friday, we do sales call reviews with our team. So important, right? Just like I said in the beginning of your journey, your sales ability and your sales process will dictate how fast and far you go in the beginning. It's the same thing for people within your business. This is a sales and marketing business, but it's like predominantly a sales business. And so a lot of time and attention goes there. But I'm not a professional sales trainer. No one on my team is a professional sales trainer. And yes, you can hire sales trainers, but they're super expensive and for good reason. I'm not saying they're not beneficial. So we're creating these AI sales trainers through Claude, where we upload call transcripts every Friday. We coach it off of certain sales trainers. So there's two that I like. Chris Voss from Never Split the Difference, and then Jeremy Lee Minor. And it gets really, for the props that we give it gets really in the weeds and really starts picking it apart and breaking it down. Now, some of it is too granular, right? Some of it's too much for our team, and some of it's not even relevant. So you can't delegate all of your sales training and sales oversight to it. There's land specific information that this stuff misses or is just not applicable to what we do. It's too sales heavy, but it's really, really cool. And you're getting a perspective that you would otherwise never get, in my opinion. To pay Chris Voss to come into your business would be multiple 5 figures. I don't even know, it'd be a truckload of money. So you can get, to some degree, the same level or similar level of coaching, essentially for free. Really cool. Now, what we do though, is from that, you're gonna have there's gonna be a ton of feedback for your team. So I look at a sales call and it'll say, hey, based off of Chris Voss, here's the 14 things that we're missing in the call. And it'll also confirm the things that we did right. So I do want confirmation on the good stuff. But we have our team take one thing from that. Okay, I'm gonna work on mirroring, and here's how I'm gonna work on it, and I'm gonna put this into practice next week. So we review on Friday, and we put into practice next week. So we wanna make sure that our team's actually like declaring what we're gonna take away. Otherwise, it's just noise, right? So we actually have to declare, and we have to hold each other accountable to actually put this into practice. Super powerful, super, super powerful. One thing on that note too, Closer Olympics. Look up the Closer Olympics for house wholesaling. A lot of really good sales stuff in there that's worth looking at. It's for houses, but there's a lot of really applicable stuff to land. And then same thing, Ajay Sharma, you're a dear friend of mine, a lot of really good sales content as well. So worth checking out. He's got some YouTube interviews that are really good. My team's watched all of them. A lot of really good stuff in there. One of the things that I learned from Ajay was the double and triple dial, which we use in all of our businesses. Okay, on that note too, I think we're gonna do our own version of the Closer Olympics. I might have to change the name, but like similar concept for land. So we're gonna have kind of a battle between Ajay and Dennis Yasko. Dennis Yasko is our sales trainer inside of Leah. And so we're going to have them kind of duke it out live. It's going to be a super long live stream. And if you guys like that, we might bring more people on and continue down that path. So I think it could be really fun content. I'm going to talk about the villa economics for a villa that I'm buying here in Bali. But before I do, one cool thing for Leah members, we just brought on a new coach. Now, you've probably seen an announcement inside of Discord, so this might be old news, but I want to share it with you. So inside of Leah, we do 10 coaching calls a month. It's a lot of calls. It's more calls than any program I've ever been a part of. That usually shakes out to be a bit more because we bring on one guest speaker for a quarter. So it's more calls than that, but 10 scheduled calls. Now those calls are Q&A, business, deal reviews, hiring, market reviews. That's like the 80-20. Those are our Monday, Wednesday calls. And we do a Thursday call. It's our sales training call. So we go and call sellers live. We review your seller calls, we go through objection handling, we go through sales tactics. Because what I found is for new land investors in your first 2 years or so, that's the biggest needle mover, okay? So that's like what most of our calls around. But there's always been one disconnect, okay? Now, what's important to know is that my Monday call is 2.5 hours to 4 hours long. They're very long. Now, a lot of people have said, Sumner, what we want also is like a mindset motivation call. The trouble is that I can't add any more calls to my schedule. And so I've been looking for someone for about 6 months who would be a great fit for mindset and motivation, right? Again, in the beginning, a lot of these first-time entrepreneurs or first-time land investors have all sorts of mindset blocks, all sorts of little demons they have to work through. and they need the space to do that, right? So we just brought on a mindset coach inside of Leah that's going to be running one call per month. It's kind of our monthly Leah mindset call. It's a gentleman that goes by the moniker Coach. His name is Ryan Callan. A lot of you guys were first introduced to him actually in our Bali vlog. So Coach is inside of Leah. He came and spent 45 days with us when we first came out here during the summer. He spoke at our event. Everyone loved him. He stayed in touch with tons of Leah members. Just a really impactful dude and a really inspiring guy. I mean, Coach lost his father about 7 years ago. He's run multiple 240 mile marathons. The guy has developed and trained his mindset to an extreme degree and has put himself in situations where he's pushed himself to grow, where most people just don't have the cojones or the tenacity to do that. And through those challenges, he's brought back wisdom that is applicable to folks that are starting their first business. Like, I put myself in situations to try to foster my growth, but it's a different level. It's a different level. When you're going and pushing yourself and running for 6 days straight with 6 hours of sleep and running 240 miles where people are literally dying. People are dying during those races. That's a different level of wisdom and insight that you glean. And that's wisdom and insight that may very well be overkill for building a land business. You're not going to die in the process, but there's wisdom that can be applied. And building a business is a labor of love. It is a challenge. It is putting your soul to the test. It is putting your feet to the fire. In the last 3 years, I've built 3 businesses on top of my land business. I am acutely aware of the difficulties. I have been pulling the long nights and long days working on this new business. And I'm reminded of how intensive it is, and of how much of yourself you give up, of how much pain you go through, and of how much is just frankly unknown, right? I always tell people building a business is like being blindfolded in a dark room, trying to open the right door, but a lot of the doorknobs are covered in razor blades. So this door, I cut myself. This door, you walk into it, you hit your head. This door opens, but you walk into it and it's a dead end with nothing but spikes. You get shanked and cut and you have to go back the other way. And you just waste the time and got injured in the process. People are trying to find the right door, the right door, the right door. No one's immune to that. Some people have the faulty notion that somehow this shit is easy. No, it's not. It's extremely difficult. And a few people are willing to sacrifice what is required to get to where they want to go. But it's 100% possible. And I think it takes a village. I think to survive that, you need a circle and you need a group to hold you accountable, to help you implement, to coach, to lead, and to inspire, and to motivate. And it's important. So I'm really excited to release that. That's starting in November, which it's currently November now. So starting this month. And while we are working and building out new programs, higher level programs for folks that graduate Leah, we continue to pour into this program and this community to continue to make it better and better and better. Just like everything I've ever created, at the beginning, it was terrible. And we just slowly get better over time. It's no different here. All right, last thing. So when we moved here to Bali, our goal was to rent a house. We said, we're going to sign a year lease. We're going to figure out if we like it, and we'll make a move from there. Maybe we'll build a house, maybe we'll buy a house thereafter. But we were wrong. The system here is very odd. So 1 year leases, you pay all of it up front, okay? The houses that we were looking at were $45,000, $50,000, as high as $60,000, $70,000 up front for 1 year. I'm like, that's kind of crazy. Now you could do a month-to-month rental, but you're paying about 20, 25%. So like, these economics just don't make sense. Like, this is wacky. Now, you don't really own real estate here. It's called a leasehold system. If you're a foreigner, you typically do a leasehold for 25 to 30 years, okay? With the option to renew. Now, the houses that we were looking at via a leasehold would be $200,000 to $500,000, okay, somewhere in that range. I'm like, well, you're already paying like 1/4 to 1/10 of that for 1 year, and then you're left with that. So we said, you know what, let's just buy something. Well, what's weird is there's no bank financing, there's none of that. It's all due up front. But you are getting 25 to 30 times the length of time on it via a 1 year or opposed to a 1 year lease. So we're doing hopefully our last round of house tours today, and hopefully we'll be making a decision today to put it in an office. So the houses that we're looking at, still starter homes, that we're not totally like, are we gonna live here forever? Are we gonna have a family here? So this is an investment, but we're also gonna live there in the beginning. So we call it like the Burr strategy, but with no financing. So $200,000 to $300,000 is kind of like setting you up. We're gonna start there. We don't wanna go overboard. Let's just find a spot, happy medium, 2 bedrooms, doesn't have to be huge, but we're really, really critical in the area that we wanna be in, and really trying to buy for an area that we think is going to appreciate. So there's a little town called Sepaki. I'm saying that wrong. It's Sepaki. It's north of Freyr, north of Canggu. And it's kind of like the slow up and coming expat area. A lot of the expats have been pushed out and moved up there. There's one kind of hip cafe that's just open. It's very much on the up and up. Still about 15 minutes from the beach. And it's just beautiful jungle covered in rice terraces. So we found this property is surrounded by 5 kilometers of nature reserve, all rice terraces that can't be built on. And that's a big thing. A lot of the houses that you buy might have beautiful views, but in 5 years, you're surrounded by hotels and developments and commercial buildings. Not nice. So we found this beautiful modern home, an infinity pool, all glass, 2 stories. Second story is a beautiful office, 2 bedroom wings on each side. Big infinity pool overlooking all this lush jungle with rice terraces. It's absolutely gorgeous. They're asking $265,000. I'll probably make an offer of $225,000. And yeah, so this would rent on a year lease for probably about $35,000 to $45,000 a year. What's interesting though, via Airbnb, this would be about $200 to $250 a night. You could probably estimate 80% occupancy, maybe 75% occupancy, something like that. So, let's say all said and done, you're probably bringing in $5,000, $6,000 a month, something like that, via short-term rental. So our plan is to live there for 2 years, put it on Airbnb, and then just have it as a cash flowing asset. And it's all paid off because you're paying up front. So, you're probably collecting 30 to 40K free cash flow at the end of the year. The operating expenses are very low because there's kind of like a arbitrage with the labor here. And my goal is to continue doing that. So every year or 2, buy a new house, live in it, enjoy it, get our money's worth, rent it out. I'm building a small kind of portfolio here via that option. And so the economics are bananas. What's interesting is a lot of people are priced out from that bracket because there's no financing, right? So if you have liquidity, you can go and buy a $500K or $1 million property, and the yield on it via rentals is unbelievable. It's really, really cool. Now, a lot of the areas are booming right now. The problem is you're surrounded by development. So they're noisy, there's loud, the view that is there today won't be there tomorrow type thing. So I'm really bullish on this market because there's an area that's protected. It's probably 10 years away from being like really developed, but there's a migration happening because people are getting priced out and people don't want to be in the chaos of Canggu. They still want proximity, but they don't want to be in the chaos. So they want to be able to go in kind of in their own accord and then leave when they want. So very exciting. It's my first kind of like real true rental investment property, but it's cool because we get to live there. I mean, literally within 3 years or so, you're getting close to your money's worth just within that time frame. And then within 10 years, you've probably doubled your money on the property. And the one that we're looking at has, I think, 31 years on it. So you've got another 21 years and you could flip out of that lease. So you could double your money through cash flow in 10 years or 15 years or whatever, and then sell the remaining 15 years. And that probably trades at 400 or 500K at that point. So the returns are pretty gargantuan, but terrible market for short-term leases if you are on the end of being the one leasing it. Great if you're the owner. All right, guys, that's the video. If you enjoyed it, thumbs up, subscribe, give it a comment. It means the world. Let's get this shared out there. Let's get this to more people. Love you guys. Take care.